Hey, I'm Gary, and welcome to another segment of Interviews with Experts. Today I have with me Dr. Stephen DeWitt, sexologist, and what I want to talk about today is male myths. What are the male myths out there, and how do they hurt us sexually? How do they stereotype us?
Yeah, great question. I think there's lots of them out there, and I'm just going to touch on kind of the top 3 or 4.
Okay.
I think some of the things that I hear a lot or read about a lot or pick up a lot from media are men always want sex. We always have to have a rock hard penis. Bigger is better, and we should be able to last for hours. Right? So those are the things that just keep perpetuating all the time out there. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't always want sex?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting to think of sex as any kind of normal activity, and as we evolve as people in our lives, you know, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the years. Sometimes we want sex, and it's great, and it's more acceptable in North American society for men to want sex, right? But at times in life, we're not in that space, right? I always talk about having an alignment. So having your head, your heart, and your crotch all aligned for great sex to happen and really want that, right? But if your head is somewhere else, or you're stressed out, or you've got a bunch of stuff going on, or your heart's somewhere else, right? It's not going to be in alignment, and you're not going to want sex all the time. Mm-hmm. But it's out there, you know, we should want sex all the time. It's natural to want sex all the time. It's part of our male heritage to want sex all the time, right?
What about thinking about sex? You know, women have this notion that we're always thinking about sex. And I'm sure there are statistics out there that a man is thinking about sex every 20 seconds, and you'll know.
Yes.
But what about that one?
Well, I mean, for me it's a little bit different because I think about sex every about 6 seconds because it's part of my job and I love it.
Okay.
But, I mean, we are sexual creatures. It is one of our primal drives. Men do think about sex a lot, right? And the thing is, so do women. Right? But it's okay, again, in our society for men to be these sexual creatures. And it's less okay for women to be these sexual creatures. Mm-hmm. Right? We read these scripts about who we are supposed to be. Myself as a heterosexual male, I need to say this, do this, and be this way. And the woman, you know, has to do this and say this and be this way. Okay. Right? And what I really encourage people to do is just wipe that away. You know, write your own script about who you want to be and how you want to express yourself sexually. You know, because it's important. You know, if we go back to the myths about, you know, lasting for hours, bigger is better, you know, always wanting sex, you know, where do we learn these things from? And I think, you know, we've been socialized, you know, essentially since birth. I think media plays a big part of it. And what I like to call is the porn prophecies. Mm-hmm. Right? So you watch porn and you're like, not that I watch porn, by the way.
No.
Strictly research. Strictly research. What I see. Right? Is you watch porn and you're like, wow, okay. And you have these unrealistic expectations. Mm-hmm. And for anyone who's, you know, seen a porn being made, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you don't see in the finished product that's out there. Right? And so it's just really... It's troublesome when we're looking at these myths that the default sex education for a lot of people is porn, right? Yeah. So that's where a lot of these myths come from.
Well, and it's got to hurt us somehow too, right? I mean, again, we're talking about unrealistic expectations, misguided approaches to sex because of being educated about sex through online porn or whatever. How does that manifest out there?
Absolutely. So there's 2 real things from it, right? So it's going to be, as a man, your self-stigma. Like, what's going on in your head, right? Like, oh, I wasn't blessed with a foot-long member. Mm-hmm. I am less than. You know, I can't go for 15, 20, 30 minutes, you know, an hour, whatever it is, mm-hmm. right? You know, those things kind of weigh on you, and you feel like, well, maybe I'm not the best lover, or maybe I'm not going to be able to satisfy my partner, or maybe that's wrong. So the flip side is what, you know, what women or what your partners are thinking and what those expectations are, right? And one of the things, you know, when I talk to people, some of the challenges is, you know, guys will come to me and be like, well, you know, I want to be able to talk to my partner about this, but it feels like I'm making an excuse that I can't last for an hour.
Well, it's kind of a myth
or
too,
whatever.
right? This whole lasting thing
Absolutely.
is kind of a myth too. But
Absolutely. I mean, studies have been done. There's different studies, but the average man from arousal to ejaculation is something like 3 minutes or something like that, right? And so, you know, being able to, again, sexual compatibility is something that we've talked about. To be sexually compatible with your partner, if that works for your partner, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, if it doesn't work for your partner, there's different techniques and different ways you can, you know, last longer or satisfy your partner in other ways, right? But it's like, oh, I need to have an erection for this amount of time, and I need to be able to penetrate my partner for this amount of time, and then that's it.
Right.
Right? That's what good sex is. That's what the right way to have sex is. And it's just not. There's a whole spectrum that people can explore about how to sexually express themselves that they don't. Because again, we have these blinders on about what is right and what is wrong and the myths surrounding them.
Okay. Interesting. Stephen, how can any of our viewers get a hold of you and take advantage of your knowledge?
Great. The easiest way is through my website, which is drdewit.com. So that's DRDEWIT.com, and from there I got email, you can sign up for newsletters, you can follow me on Twitter, and more than happy to help out any of the viewing audience.
Excellent. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for joining us for another segment of Interviews with Experts. We'll see you next time.